Hello, we're going to jump straight into this one. Go, go, go. Harvey Hadden, category 3-4 race, Wednesday the 15th of June. Welcome to the TriathlonDan YouTube channel. Of course, being a triathlete, when I come to my bike, most of the time, my shoes are already attached to the pedals. So when I'm required to clip in under pressure, it doesn't go so well. That was terrible. I started off on the front line, and now immediately I'm at least halfway through this field, if not a little bit further. I think there are about 35 riders or so in this race, so a pretty big race. Harvey Hadden's about 1.2 kilometers, 2 hairpins on a lap. Temperature's okay, the wind's okay. Yeah, looking for a tough race. I've raced here once before and really struggled, so I'm trying to do a bit better than that. In this race, I talk about the opening few minutes, and then I cut out the middle bit where not much happens, and then we cut to the end where there's a fair bit of action. So, what is this race? What's the plan? Now, I'm one of 7 from my team, South Normanton Cycling Club, so there's 7 riders in the team. I'm probably somewhere in the middle ability-wise, which is absolutely fine. We're all there to have a great time as number one priority. Secondly, we would like a result, so we're trying to work as a team in order to get a good result. Now, there's only so much you can do with that sort of thing in a crit race. There's not much help. You can always beat teammates, but we do what we can. So, I'm not positioned very well, but I'm looking around me. This rider is coming past me now on the pink bike. He placed second in a road race a couple of weeks ago to one of my teammates. I've got Adam Millington from PB Performance next to me, so I'm actually not too concerned about my positioning. I was worried about being on the back. I've never really ridden on the back unless I'm being dropped, but I'm not worried anymore. I'm just going to try and take it easy now. Keep an eye out around this corner. My teammate Lewis, halfway through the field there in the white and black kit, does a little wobble. Oh, steady on, dude. Oh dear. Kept it upright, and that's all that matters. But he lost a bit of momentum out of that corner, so he just slipped backwards a fair bit here and has to put a big effort in. But yeah, he's come from like a motocross background, so he's got the techers for crit handling. So well done, Lewis, for keeping that all right. So yeah, 7 people in this race. 35 people or so. All the teams in this race we're aware of. So we've got Velo Bavarian. They're a local team to us, local rivals. It's all friendly, but like it's good to have like a a local rivalry, isn't it? So I always on the start lines of these races ask them what the team tactics are. Of course they don't tell me. They tell me to just shut up and leave them alone. But I'll keep asking because one of them might let slip at some point accidentally, trusting me. Who else have we got in this race? There are a few other riders that we know of. So Adam Millington won. Tom Parsons, who is currently leading the overall league series. He's in the blue and yellow kit. He's not on screen in a minute, but we'll point him out when we see him. And a handful of other people that we sort of know of or have an idea that they're good riders. But on the most part, we don't really know who we're racing. You just sort of turn up and race who's in front of you. Now, fortunately, they're behind me. Lewis just gets distance. Now, he's just put that big effort in after his wobbles. He's probably a little bit fatigued from that. And then, unfortunately, he just gets distance a little bit around that corner. And then he's in that chase group. Then they just get separated. This is my main worry about being on the back of the group. I've never raced like this. I've always been in the first 10 riders or so. Not through ability, just through making sure that I have a good start and push on in the first lap or so. And that hasn't happened. So the options I've currently got in my head are 1, put in a big surge to get to the front. 2, stay on the back. 2's looking a lot more appealing than 1 at the minute. If you just look behind me, that's Dean. He was in that group behind. He's managed to just close the gap between that chase group and us. He is really strong physically as a cyclist. He's not the most confident cornering, so he often loses ground a bit cornering, but he's in the right place to get better at that. A tight, twisty circuit, he's going to get better at his bike handling. I don't think it's a skill issue. I think he had a few crashes a couple of years ago, so he's just a little bit more cautious, and that's absolutely fine. So staying in the back, why? Well, if I want to get to the front now, this is hard already. This is really hard. I'm going to need to put a massive dig in to get to the front of the group. And what's the purpose? When I put a massive dig in, I'm not then going to have the legs to be able to attack. I'm not going to have the legs to follow an attack or to counter an attack. Or bring anything back. What's the point? My plan is to stay on the back and stay as fresh as I can while still maintaining contact with the group. Now, this isn't easy. It's still a hard race, but try and stay as fresh as I can so that when the race does ease up, as I'm hoping it does, I will then move up and I'll then have the legs to do one of those things, to either attack or to counter an attack or to bring a breakaway back, or something like that, something with a team in mind that would be useful. But if I'm honest, this is all new to me. I didn't know if that's how it's going to work. I was thinking, this is pretty hard. I mean, my heart rate is coming down quite a lot in between corners. My max is about 175 and like zone 2 is like 130, so when it gets down to like 140, 150, it's not that hard, but I was finding my heart rate was just plummeting. Good awareness by Dean there, that rider was just getting distanced by the group. Dean didn't hesitate at all, he was just straight round him, working up this slight incline into a headwind to try and close back onto the group. If he'd let that group go there, we could have had a job on our hands to get back. Now, should I have given him a turn there? Maybe. I was thinking Dean was closing it at a decent rate. If I was to want to come around him, I'd have had to do big power to come around him. And I think I would have spent more time alongside him going hard than on his wheel. If he'd have shown any signs of faltering, if he'd have not been closing the gap down or flicked an elbow or something, of course I would have come around him, but he had absolutely no issues closing that, so I'm certainly not going to waste some matches when a teammate is towing me back to the group. And it was still a hard effort, and again, straight into a big dig there. That was the other thing. If I'd have put in a big effort then, I might not have been able to do this one coming out of the corner. But there you go. So we're just keeping contact at the back of the group, keeping awareness up so that if a rider or two is being distanced, then we have the the legs and the awareness to get around them. This is a slight tailwind down here. So on the top right is the course map, and the black arrow is the wind direction. It's only about 5 miles an hour, so it's not actually that strong, but it's enough so that when you're going this way, the drafting benefit isn't as good, and then when you're going the other way, it is better. Bunching up a little bit there. I can't really see what's happening at the front. I don't like it, if I'm honest. I'm used to being able to see everything that's happening. If somebody attacks, I know exactly who's up the road. I can monitor the gap and all sorts. Whereas here, I can't actually keep tabs on what's happening. When you're seeing riders coming the other way, the hairpins, it's hard to distinguish if they are lapped riders or if they are a breakaway. Sometimes it's easier because you can gauge the pace they're going and how they're riding, but it's not always the case. But it looks like it's all still together for the time being. I know it does break up in a little bit, but yeah, it looks like it's all still together, so I'm not panicking just yet. This is still hard up the slight incline. I think it's about maybe 0.5%, 1%. Over the 40-minute race, we climbed 700 feet, so it's not hilly by any means, but this little drag does just take it out of you lap after lap, or takes it out of me lap after lap. Obviously, you're still doing like over 25 miles an hour, so it's not a hill, but it is definitely a little bit of an incline. UK Bike Fit, so Vela Bavarian, UK Bike Fit is one of the sponsors. That is Dan from UK Bike Fit, so that's why I said UK Bike Fit. They have 5 riders in this race. I didn't really know much about each individual rider as to what their plan was. As I said earlier, I do keep asking them what their tactics are, but they won't tell me. But I know Dan's a good rider, so I've got no issues being around him. That's Lee Tunnicliffe just in front of me, my teammate in the white and black with the yellow socks. It's his first race back for 7 years, so I'm interested to see how he goes. He's got the skills. He will admit himself that he's not in the shape of his life physically. However, he's still got those cornering skills. He's still got his sprint and his 30-second power. So he's definitely somebody who I will follow. Dan's had a good kick out that corner, hasn't he? That's not ideal. I don't like that. So yeah, in terms of teams, we're only really looking at Vela Bavarian. I don't think there are any real teams and numbers in. Other riders we're sort of aware of, Tom Parsons, who's leading the overall series at the minute, and a couple of others, but in honesty, it doesn't really matter. It's not like there's 1 or 2 riders who are head and shoulders above everybody else. There's a general good standard of rider, and I think most of the results are driven from positioning and opportunity rather than just outright power or sprint ability or something else. Our riders we've got in here, so we've got myself and Lee. Some of you guys might know Lee from National 24-Hour TT and Red Bull Time Lapse. Dean, who we saw on screen earlier, has done a few crits with us, you know him. Lewis, who's unfortunately been distant, so he's in a chase group. Jono, who did the road race a couple of weeks ago but snapped his chain, so we didn't see too much of him after that, but he was really present in that first hour or so. He did cramp up with a few laps to go in this race, unfortunately, but we'll see that later. But he was riding really well. He's up there near the front somewhere. We've also got Wayne. Can't forget Wayne. Sorry, Wayne. Wayne's one of our strongest riders, riding really well. He's near the front as well. is that it? Jake, who won the road race a couple of weeks ago. So we've got probably Wayne and Jake, who stand a very good chance of getting a result. Dean, Jono, and myself, who maybe could get a result, but need a bit of a look on our side, or need it to be a breakaway, or that sort of thing. Lewis, good rider, and again is probably in that category, but unfortunately is, due to the situation, is not in the mix. And I feel like I've missed one of the... Oh, and Lee, perhaps. Lee was an unknown. We didn't really know. Right, I've just fast forwarded to 26 minutes into the race, so just dropped 15 minutes out of the middle there. Those 15 minutes were spent just doing the same thing, basically, just being on the back of the group and just trying to stay as fresh as I can, but in reality it was pretty hard. Now, I'm thinking now, right, as we get towards half an hour in, that's 10 minutes to go, this is when people start flagging. This is when the cracks start appearing. Those that have gone hard are going to struggle. I think this is when John O gets cramped. Yeah, so you can see him, he's like tensing up and he can't do much. You know what it's like when you start pressing on again. So unfortunately, he just got distance there, but it happens. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to that Vela Bavarian rider who's just been distance behind me. He must have... I didn't see it at the time, I'd seen it on the video. He must have been, in inverted commas, like dropped 3 or 4 times in this race. And each time, he pressed on really hard and he got back on each time. That takes serious mental fortitude, because when you like this gap now, it'd be so easy to just sit up and just relax and just think, oh, I'm done now, I've done half an hour, well done me. But he absolutely pressed on all the way, so fair play to him. Anyway, so I'm thinking now, right, this is where it shows. I've been at the back the whole race. I think I'm feeling okay. Let's see how I feel. This is quite a big surge out the corner, so perhaps I rethought that thought. But I was thinking, right, this is where we need to go. Now, what we missed on this race? Jake is up the road with a breakaway of 2 other riders, so 3 of them. But they've only got about 10 seconds, 15 seconds. In fact, I think it got to 17 seconds maximum, and it came down to 7 at one point. There's then Jimmy Kershaw, who's halfway between the peloton and the breakaway. He is an elite triathlete. He is got a stupidly high watt per kilo FTP. It's fairly light, which means it accelerates very well. I don't know what his raw power numbers are, but he's a strong rider. He did ride for, or may still ride for, the Movistar e-racing Zwift team, so a fairly handy rider. Not much we could do. I didn't really see him slip off, to be honest. And in honesty, one person trying to bridge across the break, it's not the end of the world. We're not going to chase it down. If there's 3 or 4, maybe, but 1 isn't the end of the world. And I'm thinking now, right, now's the sort of time where I need to try and move up. I knew Jake was up the road, but I was conscious that their gap wasn't that massive, and I think we can see it when we go around the next hairpin. The gap wasn't very big, and I was thinking, right, if they come back to us, one of us needs to attack. One of us from South Normanton need to put an attack in, because we're trying to be the team in this race. We're trying to press us. So this is where I take my opportunity. I'm not going very hard at all. The group bunches up a little bit. I think I try and just come up the outside. So I've made a few places there, not many. In fact, not very many at all. But I try and just squeeze through. Shout out to those of you coming through. Remember that guy in the Loughborough skin suit from a couple weeks ago at Lichfield? There we go, just moving up the inside. I'm hoping this OVB rider keeps pressing on. I don't know if he does or not. I don't like being in this position. You feel like you're going to get squeezed out, but you've got to shout to the riders that you're on the inside. I'm not shouting inside saying, make me a space, let me through. I'm just saying, look, I'm here. I'm perhaps half wheeling you. Please don't swing in and knock me off, is always all you're saying. I'm not a fan of like now, I could have perhaps gone to the inside and dive bombed at the inside going to that corner. That's not ideal, so we don't do that. Okay, so I didn't really move up very far that lap, but I'm looking around me. We've got Dean, Dan just behind me there on my wheel, and then Adam Millington behind him. Still pressing on quite hard, so I'm thinking 10 minutes to go. Like it's now or never. Like I need to be moving up to do something. So here we go. I think let's just continue that little surge. The group has eased up here. I'm not strong enough to just push past a working group this easily. The group has eased up, and I'm still doing near 500 watts. So I thought, right, there's Lee. Thought, right, I'm going to move up here. That in the yellow and blue, that's Tom Parsons. So he's the guy who's leading the overall standing. So definitely a rider who wants to be around. A Vela Bavarian rider there, second wheel. And that guy on the front, I don't know. But if you're looking at into the distance, those handful of riders just in the distance are the breakaway. I think there's Jimmy, I think he's in orange kit halfway between. Let's see when we get to this hairpin, might be able to see it a little bit easier. Oh, it's gone, I missed that. You might have seen that video before I did. They didn't have very many seconds at all. I think it was like 10 seconds. which is big enough on a circuit like this, but also not huge. So they've just gone around the bottom corner there, and we're just coming into the corner. So they're within sight. They're actually within some range of somebody just springing an attack and jumping across. So Lee's near the front, I'm near the front. If anything, I'm thinking, right, I'm just being present. All I need to do is be present. I don't need to do anything particular. And we'll just get held bounce around a little bit there. Yeah, you have to watch this, because if I'm boxing on the right now and some attacks got on the left, there's not much I can do about it. So I'm conscious here I need to press on and move up towards the front of this group, because I need to be available to do something. So that's Wayne there in third wheel. So again, I'm not fighting to get right to the front, because I can see Wayne's there. He's on Tom Parsons' wheel. Wayne did just beat Tom Parsons at the road race a couple of weeks ago, so they perhaps got some beef they need to squash. But just being in and around, just to give teammates other options if anything should happen. But we've got no intention of getting on the front and doing anything, because so we see there Jake's just going around. Oh, that's Jimmy just going around the hairpin. He's halfway between us and the brake. The brake probably has 10 seconds or so. So Jimmy's not far ahead, but if I'm honest, I didn't know that he was there at the time. I thought there was only a break through at the road, but we're just staying near the front, not contributing at all to making this any faster, but just being there should anything happen. And actually, us being third and fourth wheel does deter people from attacking, because they're further back. If they were in the second or third wheel, they'd be more likely to. So you see here, this guy's looking over, he's flicking his elbow. I'm feigning like I'm coming through, like I'm like, you know, nodding a bit and just coming through. I'm doing 250 watts. I'm not pushing hard. I'm trying to give Jake the best opportunity he can of staying away. Tom Parsons on my left there, he's not a teammate of mine, but he's not got a team, so he's not going to he's not got teammates here. He's not going to press on to chase, because then he knows he's not going to have the legs to do anything major, because he'll just work to close the gap. So I actually don't mind being like next to him and in and around him. TMI. Look at that corner though. I'll just loot. What have I lost there? One bike, 2-3 bike lengths. That's not good, is it? I need to work on that. Who's that coming over now? Somebody else. Ilkeston rider. He was riding well as well. And again here, I'm pretty comfortable with this. I'm trying to look around me at all times so I can see who is where. That's something I've really been working on, like my awareness, having the confidence to, you know, like turn your head and actually look at a rider, look at how they're riding. Are they blowing a lot? Are they not? I've been in the receiving end of that situation. People staring at you, and it does make you feel a bit pressured and like, oh, what are they staring at me for? And I want to dish that out a bit. Again, back to the front, but I'm not then going to press on to surge. We can see now the brake has got a decent gap. There's an attack on the left straight away. I've got to go with that. I'm feeling okay. If a breakaway or if an attack goes across the brake, I'm going to go with them, but I am not going to do any work. So here, Adam jumps on that second wheel. I know the bunch is just behind me, so unfortunately that one hasn't stuck, but that's a good example of, if we'd have just got away a little bit, I'd have just sat on those two. I wouldn't have contributed because we've got Jake up the road. If they'd have bridged across, great. If they didn't, doesn't matter. Like, I'd just being there gives me that option. Whereas if I was 10 wheels back, that might have got away without one of us in, and everybody who gets across the break is then a risk of us not winning because Jake's got to race more people. Again, right on the front. It's hard, so you've got to do enough to get to the front without surging, without picking the pace up. I know we've only got 5 or 6 minutes left. I can't remember how many laps that was to go. Was it 2 laps, was it? Or 3 laps? But my heart rate's pretty high. Wayne's on the left of me. I can't remember who's to the right. But we basically, you know, me and Wayne know exactly what we're doing. Is that Dean to the right of me? I think it's Dean. Yeah. So there's 3 of us on the front. Like, this is taking the mickey. This is like, we know we're blocking, they call it. We know we're blocking. Like, Wayne's there, you know, freewheeling, like normally we're pedaling around there. Me, Dean and Wayne just spreading ourselves out on the course. Not riding dangerously, but, you know, just making ourselves as wide as we can. Not carrying as much speed through the corners as perhaps we should do, just to try and slow the bunch down a little bit, just to give Jake that bit more of a gap, because, and there's Lee to the left of us as well, 4 of us on the front now. There is a picture of 4 of us on the front, and people were shouting from the sidelines, they're blocking, like, yeah, we know we are, that's sure. But, you know, there's still space there, isn't there? If someone wants to come around and attack, there's still space to do so. It's not like we've actually filled the road up. We're just discouraging people from wanting to do that. So although I'm still doing 400 watts, it's not like it's a big attack that's going to take seconds and seconds out of the breakaway. We're having to keep the pace up Otherwise, we're just going to get attacked and swamped, but we're not kicking on so much. And we know now, with like 4 or 5 minutes to go, that gap is pretty decent. So we might then press on a little bit more, just to string it out a little bit and just to position ourselves as well as we can. Let's see if we can see where the break is. So we're looking on the left hand side of the screen there. So that's the break. So we can see they've got a decent gap. There's Jimmy's one of those riders trying to bridge across. So we know they're right. That's actually a decent gap. So he just dive bombs through the middle there. That is, you got to do what you got to do, haven't you? But those sorts of things aren't ideal because you're not planning for somebody coming straight through the middle of the group like that, coming into a corner. But we're putting pressure on these riders by controlling it at the front, so perhaps making people do things they wouldn't normally do in order to make positions up. So you see that Dean's just pressing on just to keep the front of the race. We've got that guy in third and this fellow Brown guy. So now I'm just looking around, okay, which riders have we got that aren't ours? So we've got Tom in the blue and yellow, that guy in the pink, and the Vela Bavarian rider. There's only Dean at the front, so I think, right, if I get myself in the mix a bit more towards the front, then it's just another, it's another South Normanton body that somebody's got to get around or overtake in order to do something. Sorry, that's Wayne at the front, not Dean. Why do I keep mistaking Wayne for Dean? They look very different. Dean's on the left of me there, just passing that lap rider. So we've got good numbers here. We've got 3 in the top 5. This is brilliant. I know that my job isn't on the last lap. It's not to do a big sprint. So I know that my job is somewhere between now and a half a lap to go, and it's either positioning somebody or something. Now this is a terrible corner. I lose another bike length there, another position there, another position there. I'm going really hard. This is all I've got really, but I've just dropped a few positions there. Then once somebody sees one person go through, then more come through. That's a lady that's just come past me. So this race is a 3-4 like open race, so you can enter it if you're any gender. She was riding really well, and in a bit of the clip in the middle that I cut out of most corners when I was near her, she was punching out the corners so much faster than I was. I was like, oh, come on. So yeah, so here again, I'm just taking the opportunity to move up. Now this does zap me a little bit because it's already quite hard, but as I'm saying, my job isn't in the last half a lap or lap. My job is before then, so getting to the front now just helps me. I didn't know if like one of my teammates was on my wheel or just showing some jersey visibility just like keeps you like, I don't know, what's respected. I don't know, people will just be like looking at, oh, they look like good, like they're feeling good. So I'm now right near the front. People will think, oh, I must be feeling good. Actually, I'm not. As we see out this corner, I kick on, and I think this is a lap to go at this point. So I'm going as hard as I can out this corner. Or is it 2 laps to go? I think we take the bell on this lap. Let's have a look. So I'm right near the front still. This guy puts in a decent attack. That's good. Good lad. And I've not really got anything to follow that. I tried, and then I realised, so we take the bell there, so it's 1 lap to go. And that's pretty much me done, or so I think. Now, it's bunched up again there. I didn't have the legs to respond to that. I tried, and I didn't have it. So now I'm thinking, I need a bit of luck to get back to the front, or this is my race sort of done and dusted, and like, job well done for what you did earlier. So I'm still staying in contact in case anything happens that I can just slip to the front, because it can all change in a matter of 30 seconds. The whole bunch sits up and there's a gap and I ride to the front, well then I'm in a completely different situation. Heart rate is still very high. This has been a hard race. I think I normalised about 355 watts for the whole race. So it's a tough old race with loads of big digs. I kick out this corner and I know then, look, oh, there's a gap opening. Like I've not got the legs to do anything in this group like I have at my matches. But I don't want to get dropped in the last lap, so I'm still pressing on, trying to get aero into this headwind on the tops and tucking up and stuff. And then you see here, it eases up, it bunches up, so I'm like, right, if I can get over to the left, perhaps where there's a gap, and slip through to the front, I might be able to, do something, somehow magic up some sort of sprint. And I tried to slip up the side here, and then they just press on again, and that's it. I don't have that. And also, it's a bit busy. It's a bit like there's a lot of people there. I don't want to be that person trying to squeeze through a bunch when I know, if I was a sprinter and I thought, right, I'm going to win this race if I get to the front, then there's a real reason for me to get to the front. I know I'm going to get to the front, get to this last hairpin and get swamped. So there's no point in me trying to get to the front. I needed a 6th place or higher to get my category 3 race license, which I didn't do in this race, but I have a few races left this year. This is the last hairpin. I'm looking at the road. I can see a few South Normanton jerseys up there. I give it a kick out of the corner because I don't want to just be, distance. I don't want to just give up. But this is everything I've got. and I know then the group's riding away from me at 800 watts, so then I sit up, then sort of ease in. It's only about 20 meters till the finish line, and that is it. Race done and dusted. Jake was third in the breakaway 3, so the other two did out sprint him, but he'd done a fair bit of work earlier on. He was in the original break from like 5 minutes in, so that's a good result. And I don't think we had anybody else inside the top 10, but that's a good result for us. We're happy with that. And on to the next one, which is Darley Moor in a few days, which I'm lying, I've already done it. I get a better result at, so please stay tuned in a few days when I drop that video. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you later.